Sonic the Hedgehog is one of the most baffling franchises in gaming. The same series that blessed us with the legendary Sonic 2 was also responsible for Sonic 06, one of the worst games I've ever played in my life. I know that there are a lot of very vocal Sonic fans, like too many, but nobody can deny that since the transition to 3D, the Sonic series has been about as consistent as sandpaper. But when Sonic Mania was first announced last year, my interest in the series was reinvigorated. A passion project developed by fans of the series as a callback to and celebration of the Blue Hedgehog's glory days on the Genesis. That was something I could get behind. I'm of the opinion that small teams of passionate developers can achieve amazing feats, and to see backing on this project from Sega was surprising, to say the least. Many people, myself included, have been dying for a fully fledged retro 2D Sonic game for years, leaving Sonic Mania with quite a high bar to reach, and that bar was cleared effortlessly. Sonic Mania is goddamn great, a fantastic 16-bit platformer in its own right, and a long overdue return to form for the Sonic series. I've got no allegory or quip to accompany the following praise. Sonic Mania's aesthetics are just spot on, no other way to put it. Aside from its higher resolution, I wouldn't be surprised if some people thought this was a Genesis title. The 16-bit art style of the original Sonic games has been recaptured brilliantly. It's been handled so meticulously. The animation is stellar, the environments look great, and in motion it's hard not to smile and appreciate the detail. The old Sonic games had excellent music, and thankfully that tradition has been carried over into Mania. Granted, a lot of the music is the same, but the music for the new tracks and the remix tracks blend in very well. I could barely tell the difference at times. It's an extremely coherent and delightful visual and audible experience. There's basically nothing to fault here. The game's audio and visuals are virtually perfect, and they go a long way in enhancing the experience. Sonic Mania is an old school 2D platformer through and through. The number of lives you have actually matters, the level design is multi-layered, complex, and challenging, and there are no safety rules for when you screw up. The controls are kind of floaty by comparison to the likes of Super Mario World, but that's basically the nature of 2D Sonic. And it doesn't matter much anyway, because the gameplay is still fast, fun, and exhilarating. I've seen certain reviewers complain about the game being too hard, which I find pretty laughable if I'm being honest. I mean, it's challenging in the sense that you'll fail occasionally, but you know, that's how video games work. You don't just win because you feel like it. In terms of my experience with the game, most of my deaths were the result of being crushed between two platforms, as opposed to losing all of my rings and then getting hit, or falling into a bottomless pit. Instantly losing a life upon being crushed is perfectly fine. Most platformers work that way, but if I have a shield power up, aside from the old bottomless pit, I shouldn't die under any circumstances. I figure that's the whole point of the shield. That minor complaint aside, Sonic Mania, broadly speaking, is challenging but fair. When you screw up, it's always your fault, and the only solution is to play better, to the dismay of some professional games journalists. But like I said, it's not that hard. For the review, I played through all of the levels twice, and on my second run, I pretty much breezed through them. Sonic games have always been about learning the levels rather than doing awesome on your first run. Boss fights in platformers usually aren't great. I think Shovel Knight is the only platformer I've played in recent memory with well-designed boss battles. Most of the time, bosses in platformers are just too easy. 2D Sonic games have never been an exception, and Sonic Mania doesn't break the trend. Yeah, you'll die on occasion, but I only recall two bosses throughout the entire game that were legitimately hard to beat, and one of them was the final boss. Otherwise, they're a breeze. It took me roughly 6 hours to complete my first run of Mania mode, though it's worth pointing out that at least an hour of that playtime occurred in the last stage, which I found to be noticeably more difficult than the preceding levels. Regardless, I plan on replaying all of the levels several times over and trying to beat my highest score in time attack. Sonic Mania is just that much fun. The replay value of Mania has also been buffed with the inclusion of 3 playable characters. Sonic, Tails, and Knuckles each play quite differently, and there's fun to be had experimenting with their different abilities. Sonic gameplay is basically the standard 2D Sonic formula. You run and you jump, and it's great. Knuckles and Tails are slightly slower, but Knuckles is able to glide through the air and climb walls, while Tails has the ability to fly for a certain duration. I probably don't need to explain how this opens up the game immensely. Using each character's unique abilities reveals a lot of traversal opportunities that might otherwise be overlooked if only playing as Sonic, but there's often a trade-off to it as well. Climbing a wall as Knuckles may allow you to reach the top path, but it'll buff your completion time. I like that a lot. There's heaps of incentive to play through the same stage as a different character, since it provides for a new distinct experience. Which brings me to my next point. Sonic Mania features 12 zones, which all include 2 acts each. If you played a 2D Sonic game before, you know how it works. If you haven't, you missed out. 4 of the game's zones are completely original stages, with the other 8 being remixes of old stages like Green Hill Zone and Chemical Plant Zone, to name a few. 12 levels doesn't sound like much, but I think a big part of the appeal of Sonic games is replaying stages to try and reach the top paths, find hidden secrets, or otherwise race through the courses as fast as possible. The levels in Sonic Mania are so big and multi-layered that there's no way you'll get the full experience playing through them only once. I imagine perfectionists are going to have a blast exploring these levels and trying to find the bonus stages to snag all of the Chaos Emeralds. It's worth stating that the levels aren't of a totally consistent quality in the sense that some are clearly better than others, but they're all good and most of them are great. I don't dislike any of them, and that's a huge accomplishment. Level variety is one of the greatest strengths in Sonic Mania. Each stage feels extremely distinct. There's always a unique design to each stage that distinguishes them beyond the visuals. These come in the form of gameplay gimmicks, and I use that word in a positive manner, which mix up the standard platforming gameplay in a number of different ways. For example, Titanic Monarch Zone features large gravity balls which you rotate around and use to thrust yourself towards a certain area of the level. In the second act of Oil Ocean Zone, smoke gradually fills the screen, forcing you to race against the clock to reach a release hatch and clear the level of smoke. Flying Battery Zone contains areas where gravity flips. Stardust Speedway Zone features directional tubes that you have to quickly react in if you want to reach the fastest path. Many of these ideas are integrated well with the standard Sonic hazards, objects, enemies, and movement paths. The game constantly throws a wrench into the mix. You can never switch your brain off. You always have to be alert and react fast. It's great, it's tons of fun, and it blends together so well. However, a byproduct of unique gameplay design is that sometimes the ideas don't work. This game has far more hits than misses with regards to level design, but there are a few sections that I found to be annoying and poorly conceived. Every water section in this game varies from okay but somewhat annoying to downright terrible, and I have no idea why they continue to be a thing in Sonic games. Water sections usually suck in every video game, and given the somewhat floaty nature of the controls, the shit aspects of water levels are further exacerbated here. The whole point of Sonic is that you're supposed to go fast. That's why he says, "You're too slow!" because he's fast. Yet in the water sections, he moves slower than LA traffic. Fortunately, water sections account for a very small portion of the game, only being present in Chemical Plant Zone and Hydrocity Zone. Otherwise, the twists on the standard platforming gameplay work incredibly well. All of this works because the 2D Sonic formula is so potent. The old 2D Mario games have sharper, more precise controls, and in my opinion, Super Mario World is better than the Genesis Sonic games. But even with that in mind, what it and no other platformer can replicate is the sense of speed and momentum present in old school Sonic. Fast reaction times are critical to success, and making it through a level quickly and precisely is exhilarating. The core gameplay is the same across every level, but I really do not mind. I honestly think that was a good idea. Most of the shit Sonic games are awful as a result of stupid ideas that anybody with common sense should have known wouldn't work. As the old saying goes, if it ain't broke and it's actually already pretty good, then don't fuck with it. I can't tell you that I'm as nostalgic for the old school Sonic games as some people, because I'm not. While I adore the old school Sonic games, I have fonder memories of Mario, Crash Bandicoot, and Ratchet and Clank. But the Genesis Sonic games are still excellent, and a true follow-up to these classics has been long overdue. If you wanted a retro 2D Sonic game, or if you look back fondly on the likes of Sonic 2 or Sonic and Knuckles, buy this game. Flaws and all, I love classic Sonic, and this game embodies classic Sonic. Fast-paced platforming, amazing music, great visuals, vibrant and challenging stages, they're all here. The small team behind this project achieved what they set out to do, and that deserves some praise. The best Sonic game in years? Yeah, absolutely. Best fucking Sonic game since 1994 as far as I'm concerned. With a great Crash Bandicoot remaster that helped me relive my childhood, and a truly standout new Sonic game only a few months later, all we need is for Super Mario Odyssey to knock it out of the park and we'll have the trifecta.